This week, we'll be going over the In Time for Lunch achievement in Loop Hero. This is for starting a new game and defeating the Lich on your very first expedition. This can take a few tries to get done, but these tips should make it a little more consistent and a bit easier for you to get it done. And now, let's get into it. So starting out, of course we're going to come over to select a save slot and start a new save. You'll want to select skip a tutorial though, so that we can edit our deck before we actually get in there. So then we'll toss down the campfire and then go into deck building mode. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out Beacon, because it basically does the opposite of what we want to be doing with the additional movement speed. And then Treasury you could leave in, but it seems to be a bit more consistent for this achievement if you take it out. Plus, gargoyles can get pretty tough to deal with later on, so probably don't want to add that difficulty. And then for the last change we're going to make to the deck, we're going to take out the Vampire Mansion. Vampire Mansions can be helpful in the beginning to get some extra drops and delay the loops, but later on in the run they can make fights pretty tough. Now starting out, you're going to want to do the first two loops as slowly as possible. The reason being that each day that goes by is going to spawn new enemies, which will then allow you to get more item and card drops, and you'll definitely want those if you're going to kill the Lich. A few tips to kind of draw these initial loops out more is to avoid equipping any items that would cause you to do more damage or attack faster. However, items that make you a bit beefier are fine, and then starting out around loop 3, we can start equipping items and really go hard grinding out more mobs. When it comes to the mountains, rocks, and meadows, we're going to start off wanting to place rocks in a 3x3 section, with meadows around the edge, as that's going to cause those to turn into blooming meadows, giving you extra health each day. Just save the mountains until later on if you can, because the 10th mountain or rock you place is going to spawn a goblin camp, and we don't really want to deal with those too early on. But groves and spider nests you'll want to basically be placing down as many as possible and spread them out to where there should be consistent stops as you go around the track. Remember, we're trying to cause as many days to pass as possible each loop because we want those drops. When it comes to cemeteries though, you're only going to want to put a couple down and try to limit the max amount of mobs in those tiles with road lanterns. They have a lot of armor, so magic damage is going to be big for dealing with those, and they pack quite the punch, especially later on. And then in terms of character build, there are really two main ways you want to be going. You either want to go very high health regen or high vampirism and high attack speed. I found that going with high vampirism and attack speed with some extra damage to all during the main run is the best, and hold on to high health regen items to swap out right before the fight with the Lich. It'll be even better if you can get high health regen and a little bit of added vampirism and attack speed, pretty much making you unstoppable. And then one of the tiles that we haven't really talked about is the battlefield. You're going to want to place those at the beginning of the track so that you get that loop level gear at the very start of the loop. For any additional battlefields, you're going to want to space them out after that first one, enough so that they don't overlap with each other at all. Because if they do, it's going to create a blood path, which will just cause unnecessary difficulty. Then once we start coming up to the beginning of loop 4, you're going to really want to start preparing for the Lich fight. So once the boss meter fills all the way up, the Lich is going to drop Lich Palaces all around the campfire, which will give him bonuses to both damage and health. So that means in preparation, you want to make sure you have tiles placed in the 3x3 square all around the campfire before that activates. Of course, if you miss one or two of the tiles, you can always use an Oblivion card or two to remove those right after the Lich spawns his palaces. And okay, here we've finally got our 3x3 of rocks up in the corner here. So the reason for that is once you have a 3x3 square of rocks or mountains, it's going to turn into a mountain peak. This is going to give a huge boost to your HP, and it's also going to start spawning harpies. These can be kind of tough, but it shouldn't cause too many issues, especially since we aren't going to have them paired with vampires or gargoyles. So as we're coming up to the end of the run, the target is going to be to build up either high vampirism and about 40% attack speed, or to have enough backup gear to have at least about 8 or so regen per second. But if you can get a set of gear that's going to give you 8 or more regen per second and still have decent vampirism and attack speed, with maybe a little evasion to go on top, then you will be good to go. Really, you want to cause the boss to spawn in at the end of loop 6, but if you have to go just an extra loop to do it at the end of 7, you can still make that work pretty consistently also. There is a good amount of RNG when it comes to your item drops, but these are generally the things to think about and look out for as you're doing your run. It could take you a few tries. I believe it took me about 4 tries to finally get it. And leading up to the boss area, it could be a good idea to oblivion some tiles that have a lot of enemies so that you won't be low health at the beginning of the boss fight. And then of course pause right before you go in and take one last look at your gear to swap it over to your boss fight gear with high regen. In this example, I ended up getting 28 to 42 damage, 1388 HP, 10.2 regen per second, 8% vampirism, 16 defense, plus 20% attack speed, and 18% evasion. Originally I was trying to get the boss to spawn at the end of loop 6, but I barely missed it and had to wait until loop 7. So let's see how I hold up with these stats against the boss on loop 7. So yeah, this was actually more than what was needed, so the fight went pretty well. And be sure to come by the community Discord if you have any questions or just want to hang out in a cool achievement hunting Discord. We do also have a Patreon open now, so if you'd like to support the channel and future creation of the videos, the link is in the description. And as always, if you liked the video or found it helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below with what games you'd like me to cover next.